hands are registered as lethal weapons. We get into a fight, I accidentally kill you, I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
Hello, guys, and once again, welcome to R&R Reviews Unscripted, where you're here with just a couple of cinephiles, and we're gonna sit back and we're gonna kick it for a few minutes.
Our topic today is going to be Quentin Tarantino's latest, his 9th film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ba-boom!
Alert! If you haven't seen this movie, this one is actually brand new, and you probably don't want to listen to this because you might be quite upset. This is somewhat history-based, but you know how Quentin Tarantino likes to twist history? He does that sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So don't listen if you haven't seen it.
If you check out our Facebook page, R&R Reviews, you'll see that we gave Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a 5.3 out of 10 points. Now, before all you Tarantino fans freak out on us, just let us explain a little bit of why we feel the way we feel, okay? Remember that a 5.3 is above average. A 4 is what we consider passable and watchable. So this film is a good movie. We definitely have some details we'd like to share on why we gave it a lower rating than what some would expect.
And I do agree, this sounds awfully low for a Quentin Tarantino film, but this is not like any other of his 8 films. It's totally different kind of movie. His movies are known to, have quite a bit of action, quite a bit of violence. And granted, this movie does have some of that, but it's very little. The first, 2/3 of this film are incredibly slow, incredibly meandering. You feel like there's no plot, you can't tell where the story's going, and it just feels boring.
And look, I get it. He's building character development, he's setting up these characters, he's showing you their lives, and then he's moving into what is the future of the film. But it's done in a way that just has no build to it. I mean, I'm a big Tarantino fan when it comes to movies, and I know that he does a lot of backstory. He lays a lot of backstory, and he wants you to feel, and it's dramatic, and sometimes it's a little slow, but that's always pays off at the end. And I feel like this film, we literally could have cut out almost half of it, and we would have never known the difference.
Agreed. And I think the reason it was so long is probably because, a lot of this is what these guys, these movie makers, see. Like, this is a lot about their side of the story. And I think that he was probably rather passionate about it, and that's why it ended up being so long and having so much of this extra in it. But it's like, hey, your audience doesn't care.
I get it. The 60s was a very different time for Hollywood, and for some it's considered the golden age, you know what I mean, for Hollywood in that sort of era. So, I can see what he was trying to do in building this, but, he definitely lost us, I think, for a good portion. I think that we probably watched a half hour's worth of movie of just Brad Pitt driving in a car. Literally.
It's the summer of love, baby.
I mean, there was so much car driving, and I get what he was trying to do as far as he was showing you the 60s. He was showing you the cars. We heard tons of music. We saw what Hollywood looked like, the strips looked like. We saw tons of product placement, 60s sodas, 60s cigarettes, 60s dog food. We saw all this different stuff and, tons of TV references. I mean, he did a really good job of building that feel of the 60s and showing us every bit, exaggerating on all of that. But again, I'm just wondering, because I was honestly coming in expecting something like Pulp Fiction. If I'm being honest, I expected to see a linear line of things that all added up to equal out to something in the end. And I know that he was trying to do something different, but man, I just wonder, up until the scene where Brad Pitt visits the ranch, the Manson Ranch there, I could have cared less.
And I think that's definitely a hot button topic for, this era movie, is that's what a lot of people wanted to see was, like a movie about, the Manson family and the Manson murders. But that's not what, Tarantino was really going for here as much. That was only like, a side thing going on in this film. It really goes nowhere. I feel like he should have gone another way with it. On the bright side, I did just hear back from Mr. Tarantino actually, and he is going to pay for my medical bills from all the secondhand smoke I breathe.
Tons of smoking, tons of Leonardo DiCaprio crying. Never seen him so much.
And it's great because it's a lot of his character just losing his crap the whole movie, and it's awesome.
And back to that note, I realized that he was gonna make the Manson family thing a side note, which I like. I like that. You know, Inglourious Basterds was similar to like Hitler in that aspect. It wasn't a movie about Hitler. It revolved around that, and you saw just those few moments of it. I don't know, it just lost me there, but it still has that great Tarantino feel. I still really enjoyed the third act of the movie, I would say. I really enjoyed the third act. I really enjoyed the characters. I did enjoy the attachment that we grew to Rick Dalton, to Cliff Booth in these characters and the way they were built in the relationship. I definitely think Brad Pitt's character, Cliff Booth, was my favorite character in the whole movie.
Brad Pitt is absolutely excellent in this. I mean, I've always loved the guy. He's one of my favorite actors, if not my favorite actor of all time. And I think he was absolutely great in this. It just made me like him more.
Yeah, and DiCaprio comes off very well as this aged actor who's struggling to find his place. What's he gonna do? He was once on top, now he's at the bottom. He's slowly declining. And, you know, where's his career taken from here?
Which is a very interesting role for DiCaprio to take, since he hasn't done anything since he won an Oscar for The Revenant.
And I honestly want to know why we don't have more movies with these two together, because it's awesome. It's just cool to see these two stars, because they are so high in the game. They are held at such a high magnitude, work together in this film.
Right. I could watch anything with these two paired up in it. You know, a buddy cop movie, you know, any kind of bro movie where there's, you know, a bromance going on.
There's always great performances, you know, Timothy Olyphant, Al Pacino, Bruce Dern, Dakota Fanning, nearly unrecognizable, Emile Hirsch, great cameos from Kurt Russell, from Luke Perry, which is his last film before death, from James Remar. Don't forget, Michael Madsen is in there for just a second. You know, he's got to be in every Tarantino movie. One person who wasn't in here that I always expect to see, that is
was Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I think he's literally in every single one of Tarantino's movies other than this one.
Gosh darn it, that's it. I've had it with these snakes on this plane.
What's funny is when you say that without all the language in it, it completely changes it. Right. He's known for saying it with a lot of language. Still a great movie. Margot Robbie does a great job too as Sharon Tate. I mean, there was definitely great moments that I really liked. I just feel like we could have cut so much excess off.
I agree too, and I feel like there wasn't as much Margot Robbie as you really expect there to be. She's really, you know, kind of a side character a lot.
And I think I kind of expected that. I know that, you know, Charles Manson was going to be a side in the actual plot to the movie, but he's only actually in one scene, which did surprise me. I did expect to see him a few more times. So as far as the score, sound, and soundtrack, there's not a lot of attention to notice here. I do think they played a ton of 60s music. There was a ton of radio playing in there. Obviously, with 45 minutes of watching Brad Pitt drive around the town, there was a lot of radio. And so we heard a lot of great 60s music, a lot of that era, which was cool. But other than that, there's not a lot to note there. As far as your special effects and cinematography, it doesn't rely a lot on that. Definitely, like I said, the 60s style and tone was done great, you know, from the houses they lived in, to the furniture they had, to the cars they drove, to everything about that setup. It felt very authentic and very genuine.
And I gotta say, I did love the twist on the end, you know, of kind of seeing like, hey, you know, what would happen if these guys had gone to another house, you know, another house right next door. Well, the Manson family going to another house right next door to the Tates, to the Polanski residence, you know, what would have happened? And I love the twist. I love the way it all went down. It was comical. It was violent. And it was a great way to end it.
It was. That was a phenomenal scene. You know, I really thought they were going to kill off, you know, Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth at that moment. And then to watch that play out how it did, and watching Brad Pitt's character just be so cool, even though he was kind of hallucinating, just be so cool and just, you know, take it. When he's slamming that girl's head into everything in that house, I mean, it was nuts, man. And his dog, and then to top it all off, the flamethrower, right?
Right, they had to pull that back out. And Brad Pitt was such a tough guy in this movie, but he plays it so well.
He does, man. He's just so cool and smooth, and just like he doesn't even have to have dialogue. It's just the way he carries himself. In fact, in the film, his character apparently killed his wife and got away with it.
They kind of play on it. Like they're going to show you and you're like, did he do it? Because it looks like he did it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's one thing that I did like about this movie that was different than other Tarantino movies. There was a ton of cutbacks. You'd see a scene and then it would cut back to a previous scene and show you, you know, the backstory to that. I did enjoy that a lot. That was kind of different for a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, he actually kind of threw reference, you know, to Leo being in the movie because there was a bit of cutception because we had a cutback inside a cutback.
Yeah. Another thing I really enjoyed was Bruce Lee, how he was portrayed in that film. I was speaking with someone and they were talking about how his daughter was not very pleased with how he was portrayed. I've always known Bruce Lee to be this guy that could never be defeated. You know, he was like unable to, you know, fight anyone and lose. And just the way they played that scene out was awesome.
All of the, you know, I would say our dads, you know, the grown men we know, you know, to them, Bruce Lee was like the strongest man in the world. And so it was interesting to see a little take on that. I mean, I don't doubt the guy was probably cocky. I would be cocky too if I was Bruce Lee.
So overall, I mean, it's a good movie. It is. It's a good Tarantino movie. Is it the best Tarantino movie? No. I think that, you know, he's definitely changed some things. His last two movies are definitely not my favorite of his series of films. I still like Tarantino. I still expect great things from him. He writes these, he directs them, he produces them. He's involved in every level of these films. And let's not forget that it's even though it's part of history at some points, it's original. It's an original idea, and we don't see that all the time. And so, I mean, I got to give him props and appreciate him for what this is. I would definitely probably watch this again.
Agreed. I think it's just something much better to watch at home rather than in a theater.
Yeah, so I can pause it and get up in the middle of Brad Pitt's driving scenes.
Well, you don't want to miss how good he is at driving because, you know, he's showing you a lot of quick tips in there so you know how to drive.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, that is all the time we have again for this film. We are going to go ahead and get on out of here. Feel free to hop on our Facebook page or our YouTube page, leave us a comment, let us know what you thought about this film. We'd love to hear back from you guys. Or drop a review suggestion that you would like to see in the future. Also, feel free to hit us up at our email. That's rogerscinemahood@gmail.com. That's ROGERSCINEMAHOOD@gmail.com.
You forgot our own email?
I just blanked.
And as always, you're here with the Rogers Brothers. We'll see you next time, guys. It's a beautiful day in the cinema hood.
Cinephiles out.